Hello and happy Tuesday evening. Welcome to Live with Gotham Quilts. I'm Allison and I'm not live, but you are with Gotham Quilts. I'm actually at jury duty today, Tuesday. So this is pre-recorded, but we always love to see your comments. So even though this is pre-recorded and even though I won't be able to respond in the moment, do leave a comment so that you can add to this conversation. And something tells me this is a conversation that you might have something to add to. Just putting it out there. I'm very excited to bring you kind of a fun show today. These are the top 10 sewing notions that aren't really sewing notions. Things that you're going to find around the house that you can't buy at a quilt store that are going to help you in your sewing day in and day out. So with that, let's get into it. I've got producer Ken manning all of the magical stuff, and let's start. We are going to start our fabulous trip of sewing notions that aren't actually sewing notions in the garage. And there's one thing that you're going to find in the garage that I promise you're going to reach for more often than just about anything else in your sewing room, and that is painter's tape. There are so many quilty uses for this. Lots of people use it to mark out their fabric. If you are quilting, like especially something with soft and stable that's got a little puffiness to it, mark this out, mark out one of your first lines and use this as a guide. You don't want to sew over it necessarily, but you do want to, you can sew right next to it or use it as a guide on your walking foot. Another fabulous use for painter's tape is actually on your sewing machine. Now, if you have a featherweight or anything with decals, you want to be very mindful. But the reason that I love painter's tape is because it's got a relatively low tack. If it's not going to pull the paint off your walls, your sewing machine, if it's a standard no decal modern sewing machine, will work just fine. And in this case, you can see I have put down a line of painter's tape to mark where my edge should be. This probably isn't a 1/4 inch, but you could mark a 1/4 inch, you could mark 3/8 if you're doing something a little bit funky. Mark that on your sewing machine. And what I've done here is I'll even try to pull it up a little bit here. I've done a couple of layers deep. So I'm going to take it off and just, you can see with the thickness here, this is, I believe, 8 layers of painter's tape. I just took this, ripped it in half, and did that many layers. So it gives me a little lip for my fabric to go up against. And then I've got a built-in guardrail just with painter's tape. Really easy to move. You could see how easy it was to replace that and move it around. So from the garage, painter's tape. Now I've got another way that this is going to help you out too. If I've got any of my English paper piecers out there, it's going to help you with that. I've got my pieces here, and what I'm intending to do is use my painter's tape to line them up. And I'm just going to put a piece of tape over this. Make sure they're lined up exactly where you want them. Put the tape. Now, normally I would use a piece that's a little bit smaller than this so it doesn't hang over the top. But you can see now when I flip this over, I can use this to do flat back stitching right on the back of my pieces. And that painter's tape holds these together perfectly so that now all I have to do is take them and stitch them, and I can stitch them from the back. So painter's tape, a very handy thing. So let's move out of the garage for just a second here, and let's go straight into the bathroom. One thing that will make your sewing machine very happy is an old makeup brush. Now, makeup brushes are generally soft, bristled. You could get longer ones, shorter ones. This is a shorter one, but I'm going to use this clean old makeup brush to clean out my sewing machine. Now, you'll want to make sure that there's not any makeup left on it. So wash it with soap and water, make sure it's nice and clean and dry, and then use this to get in all of those areas of your sewing machine. When you're cleaning your sewing machine, you never, ever want to use compressed air. All that really does is take all that lint and fuzz and thread bits and compress it into your sewing machine where it's harder to get out. A nice soft brush, an old makeup brush, is a great way to get in there and dust it off. It's also a great way to get into some of these little nooks and crannies that are just easy to keep nice and clean. Since we're in the bathroom, I'm sure you have tons of these laying around. These are hair ties. Now, they can be these fabric kind, they can be the plastic kind, but it's a great way to keep your thread, the end of your thread, exactly where you want to keep it. It's really nice and soft and very flexible. And so you can see I've got the end of my thread all wrapped in there. Now, if you have these kinds, sometimes they get a little stretched out if you've used them a lot and they don't hold quite as nicely. All you have to do, this is a little bonus tip that has nothing really to do with sewing. It has more to do with hair ties. All you have to do is throw these in some hot, almost boiling water, and they will shrink back to the normal size, and then you can use them on your thread. It works great for spools, although I have a cone here. So let's leave the bathroom for a second. And in this next area, you are going to, actually, I've got another area. We're going to stop in the office next. So moving on from the bathroom into the office, and you might recognize this as a lovely magazine holder. I've got a magazine in here. It works just fine for that. It's a quilting magazine, but I've got a better use for this. Do you ever have extra pieces of interfacing, rolls of interfacing that are getting unruly? This is a great way to hold that. It keeps them nice, steady together, so you can use an old magazine holder to keep your interfacing exactly as you'd like it. Now, these ones are not much of a tip. I'm sure you guys have all thought of this and used this before. So we're just going to call this, I think, what are we on, Producer Ken? Tip 3? Item number 3.5, something like that. We're just going to call it like a half of an item. Paper clips. Paper clips and binder clips like this that you would just use to keep papers together are great for lots of different things. Binders clips work great for English paper piecing. Sometimes they're a little bit big, and so in this case, I've used just regular paper clips to hold my pieces together for stitching. But these are also great for thicker materials, bags, and things like that to help these together when sometimes pins just aren't strong enough, or maybe you don't have quite the right size Wonder clip. I'm sure you've got some binder clips of all sorts and sizes. So we'll call that like 3.5 because yeah, who 4.5, yeah. So for number 5 all the way to number 10, we're going to take a little trip to the kitchen. The kitchen is a great place for lots of things that will help. Now, this next one, chopsticks. I'll tell you a little secret. I cannot use chopsticks to eat, but I use them in the sewing machine or in the sewing room a lot. Chopsticks are great. They are amazing little tools because they're not super pointy generally at the top here. They're great for poking out corners, pulling out the seams of a bag. And you can see I'm just using this chopstick to poke out that seam allowance and get a nice crisp edge on my bag. They're also great for things like drawstrings. If you have a long tube that you need to turn, consider using a chopstick. So they're very handy for all sorts of things. You can also use these for helping to feed fabric under your presser foot and through your feed dog. So you could see this is coming through, and I'm just using this not to get my fingers too close to the needle. So a great option in lieu of a stiletto, not quite as pointy as some of the stilettos. Lots of different uses for this. And then I guess when you're all done, you can have something to eat. Probably wouldn't want to use the same chopsticks though, but we wouldn't judge you if you did. Freezer paper. So freezer paper is a great tool to have on hand. This is going to be found in any of the grocery stores in like the bag and the wrap aisle. I've had a little bit of trouble sourcing this, but generally without too much any well-stocked grocery store is going to carry this. So freezer paper is, if you are familiar, it's kind of what people used to use to wrap things up to put in the freezer, like meats and things. It is paper on one side and it's got a waxy coating on another. And that waxy coating really does come in handy in the sewing room. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can use this. This is great for applique, for example. It is great for foundation paper piecing. If you've got pattern pieces, you can press this to your fabric, sew right up against but not over the freezer paper, and then you have that template or that piece to use for other applications, which is also what makes it great for applique too. You can reuse that over and over again. And that waxy coating will give you just enough stick to your fabric. It's easy to take off, but it'll stay there while you need it. Another application of this, which is actually really kind of fun, is the freezer paper gives you just enough stability to run your fabric through a printer. Now, Tiny Apple has a video on this on TikTok on how to. If it's something that you're interested in, we'd be happy to redo that and put it out on YouTube as well. But all you have to do is press a piece of the freezer paper to your fabric. And like I say, that waxy coating is going to give it enough stick that's easily released later. And then you'll cut it to a regular copy size paper, 8.5 by 11, run it through your printer, and there you go. You've got printing on your fabric. You'll want to make sure to fix it with Retain, or if you use a toner printer, a laser printer is what I'm thinking of. That usually has enough heat to set it, although it's not going to be the most vibrant image. It definitely works, and we've gotten a lot of oohs and ahs on the things that we have printed, especially great for things that you don't plan on washing necessarily, or if you want to embroider over what you've printed, so you'll have like a more permanent, darker way to view that. So lots of different options with the freezer paper. Now, also in the bag and wrap aisle is aluminum foil. There's a couple of different ways to use aluminum foil in your craft room. One of them is you could put a larger sheet underneath your ironing board cover. And what that'll do is it'll just reflect the heat and steam back onto the piece, the fabric that you're pressing with your iron, and just give you a little bit more oomph when you do that. This also comes in handy if you've got a rotary blade that just has no life left. If you are absolutely desperate and you need it sharpened just a little bit, now this isn't a miracle worker, but it will get you through if you are especially in need. You take your rotary cutter and just cut over your aluminum foil. A handful of times, I would say between 20 and 50 times. And what that does is it gives it just a little bit of a freshened up edge by running it over that aluminum foil. Like I say, it's not going to work miracles, but it will get you just that little bit more if you need to get just a little bit more life out of your rotary blade. Now, staying in the kitchen, we've got this guy. This one happened to come from IKEA, but they come from all other sources. This is a cookbook holder. So when you're in the kitchen cooking, you've got your cookbook sitting on it, very easy to see. It's a great place to hold your patterns, your sewing books, your magazines, maybe even your iPad if that's where your pattern is. But it's a great way to keep it at a very nice angle so that you can read it and see it and keep it open to the page. I know that sometimes, maybe some of us might lose our pattern underneath the fabric and what else is going on. This will keep it nice and handy and visible for you. And last but not least, it also happens to come with IKEA, and this is the whole reason why we did this particular fun little quick show about the top 10 sewing notions that aren't really sewing notions. It's this guy. It's a little kitchen tray. Now they have them in all different sizes and shapes. Again, this one came from IKEA. There's a couple other ones that are great, but it's a great little portable way to keep your fabric for specific blocks. If you've got a quilt that you're working on and you've got a bunch of different blocks, you could put each one on a separate tray. They are so easily stackable so that you can keep everything organized and nice and together, and you get lots of room, especially on this particular version, to keep all of your pieces as you need them. So that is, oh my gosh, I forgot one about the kitchen. That was number 9. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, thank you, producer Ken. Number 10 was hiding in plain view. Number 10 is going to be the coolest of them all. So you remember my thread from earlier? I've got it sitting in a mug. This is number 10. If you have a cone of thread, but you don't have the adapter for it to sit on, or you don't have the sewing machine that can that has the ability to use a thread, all you have to do is plop your thread in a mug. We'll take off this little string here because we would want to just use it. And then thread your machine as normal, keeping this mug off to the side. And with this, it gives you the ability, it keeps your thread as it should be. It'll hold it all together, and then you can use a big, nice, beautiful cone of thread for your sewing machine. So that is number 10, a mug. Okay. Well, I think that was a little whirlwind through the house. We started off in the garage and ended up in the kitchen. If you have some sewing notion, if you have something that helps you out in your sewing room that doesn't come from a quilt store, that you might get at the hardware store or the grocery store, be sure to put it in the comments below. I am sure that you guys have tons of things like this that you are using and that save you, heartburn when you are sewing. So I hope you enjoyed this quick little version of the Not Live with Gotham Quilts. Again, I am at jury duty, fulfilling my civic duty, but really glad we could do that. So with that, we can move on to our housekeeping items. It will start with this quilt behind me. If you are interested, we do have this kit at Tiny Apple. This is the 3-2-1 Blast Off quilt by Stacy Eastshoe for Moda Fabrics. It is a great, fun, space-themed fabric. Be sure to pick up that kit. The pattern is included, as are all of the fabrics, and it was really fun to sew up and very, very cool. We also have our selvage packs. Those were such a hit last week. We've got a number left. We've got a fair amount left. Just as a reminder, if you are picking one of those up, really they come from Free Spirit, so a lot of the fabric is going to be Kaif and Tula. So if you have a preference, just go ahead and put that in the comments of your order, and we'll do our absolute best to accommodate you. One thing I will point out, that in this particular batch, Kaif and Tula are generally mixed. So I can get you all Tula, or I can get you mostly Kaif, but there aren't too many that are just Kaif. I am so excited for next week's Thread Talk. That is going to be on Wednesday, November 5th. At 8 p.m. Eastern. That is the Thread Talks with Sarah Felke. She is going to just give us a sneak peek into her design process. She has been an educator for over 25 years. She's written tons, I think almost 20 books, 19 books that have been translated into different languages. So you know that her designs and her aesthetic really resonates with people across the globe. We're so excited to have her for Thread Talks next week. That's Wednesday, November 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we've got our Mystery 5-0 Island Hopping starts the same day on Wednesday, November 5th. If you are interested in a mystery sew along, just scan that QR code. We've talked a little bit about that, but it is just a fun mystery. The clues get emailed to you, and that QR code is going to tell you how to get signed up for it. And last but not least, we've got our Color for Quilters class. Our next semester, I guess, our next year, our next installment has been announced. That is going to start in January, and it's going to go the whole year round. We are so excited to have you for that class. If you need a little bit more encouragement or maybe some confidence in picking colors for your quilts and your crafting, this is going to be the class for you. It is a full year and fabulous. So if we've got a YouTube video out on that. So if you want a little bit more information, you can either click on the QR code or find that video. It was live at Gotham Quilts a couple weeks ago. So with that, oh, and I guess, well, second to last, but certainly not least, we've got Stitch Lab. Our next session is coming up. Stitch Lab is kind of like a guild for adventurous people. It's a great way to show off what you make, and any kind of stitching is welcome. Quilting, embroidery, cross stitch, crochet, knitting, any kind of stitching, we love to have it. And it is really very user driven there. The people, we give the power to the people, and the people pick the challenges, and we just find fun things to go along with it. That's really our role here. So thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like this video. We like it when you like it. And we'd love to see your comments, especially on this one, of what things around the house do you use in your sewing machine. So thanks so much for joining us. We really hope to see you next Tuesday, same time, same channel. That is going to be here on either YouTube or Facebook at 6:30 p.m. Eastern next Tuesday. So thanks all for joining. We hope to see you then, if not before, and I really hope before.